Okay, stick with me. Loop quantum gravity theory. Okay, and string theory, and the theory of relativity, Einstein's relativity, and singular events such as the black hole. The Big Bang and black holes. Okay, I know it's like, this is a tarot reading, by the way. It's just science oriented. So if we, okay, Einstein says if we go to the ends of the universe, there's an end. There will be an end to the universe. The universe is like driving off a cliff. There's an end point. And then this other theory says, well, this is kind of an in-between thing. String theory says that really matter is made up of a variety of strings, little tiny strings, and basically that time and space and matter is incredibly malleable, and there's dimensions there's, I think it's like a tedious amount of dimensions, like 26 or something. Okay, and then within, I believe, Einstein's theory of relativity, there is something called singularity. So that means that there's these anomalous events like the Big Bang, and like, which created the universe from nothing, and would suggest coming from nothing, and like a black hole, which is a star that is like emptied out of matter but is still like a vacuum of energy, as I understand it in my self-taught way. Okay, but then there's this other theory that it's the loop theory, that actually, what if instead the universe is like, so there's this Planck model of that there is like an ultimate point of matter being crushed, or like a black hole, where it actually bounces back again, in theory, the Planck model would say. So that would say that at a certain point, the coils of the springs within the black hole spit whatever comes in back out and create a white hole. Or that would suggest that the singularity event that we see as an anomaly, that was the Big Bang, is actually just a loop of maybe coming out of another universe. Stick with me here. So instead of nothing, we may have bounced from another universe, okay, that became overwhelmed. And then also this theory, this loop theory, instead of Einstein's relativity theory where we fall off the cliff and that's the end, it means that, say the car instead falls into like a spring of water at a waterfall, and then again the coils of matter become so tight that it spits the car back up the cliff, basically, would be the opposite. And so that, okay, so that's space-time reality though. But the thing is, we have to remember these principles are happening in real time on Earth too, like in a literal, metaphorical way, and they affect our lives and our gravity and everything, whatever. So then the second theory would say that the idea of singularity is defunct and is not relevant, because the idea that there was just some random Big Bang event, it's actually more suggestive of a pattern of several Big Bangs or some people would see it that way. There's other people who theorize it differently, that like I don't know. There's a whole other way of viewing it. I'm not going to get into it, but basically, in terms of your reality and what I'm being called to tell you for this tarot reading about reality is you are being spat back out by a black hole of an experience to be reborn. You are not at an end point. You are at a malleable point. This is not a singular event. This is part of a series of loops of events that have occurred, perhaps in a sequence of specific timing that is very universally succinct, that you have not realized because you are a blissful human. So, yeah, so what are the greater patterns here in your life? What are the greater loops or arcs? It's supposed to be like the arcs or loops of a sweater. And also, so say that Einstein's theory says that we're just on the surface of the sweater, and and that there's a bottom, there's a way to our existence is only surfing around the surface of the sweater being knit, but the reality of the end of our existence would be breaking through that hole of that sweater, as I understand it. Other way to understand it is that actually there is no big gravitational drop like that, such as, like, one example would be the sun exploding in terms of like the universe dying, but like instead there's little snags and snares on the sweater that create these loops, and it is random, but it's also not, because it's part of a greater pattern and sequence. Ooh, took a lot of time to come out. This relates also to Hegel, which I mentioned before. Hegel talks about cycles and cyclical patterns in our lives, that we may think we're at the beginning of something, but we're at the end of something else, and that we may think that we've never been here before, but we've had this cycle many times. So what for you has felt like a black hole or a big bang singular event, but when you really scope back, you can see is actually part of a greater sequence of patterning? And like, I'm trying to say, you've been here before, and you can do this. You can get out of this situation, and it's just, if you use that theory instead of Einstein's theory, you will be spat back out from the greater eternal spring of the universe, from the compression point to a new Big Bang or a new experience. So thanks for listening to me muse about science, and I will be taking a break, and I hope you have a great day.